Well, it's been more than a week since Oregon and Washington lifted their indoor mask mandates. But as this is happening, scientists around the world are trying to understand a new Omicron subvariant that's now emerging. The CDC says 35% of new COVID-19 cases in the U.S. are this subvariant. We want to get over to Fox 12's Connor McCarthy, who spoke with an associate professor at OHSU about this new variant. He's joining us live in studio to tell us more about that conversation.
Well, Bonnie, this new subvariant is called BA2, but also stealth Omicron, and it is giving people deja vu of last summer. Masks were dropped, the Delta variant surged, and restrictions came back. Associate Professor of Medicine Marcel Kurland with OHSU says this new variant is still serious, but will not cause the social disruption like we've seen over the last 2 years. Restrictions are easing, masks are off, life seems to be getting back to normal. But an Omicron subvariant emerging around the world is getting the attention of scientists.
BA1 and BA2 probably came up around the same time, but BA1 just got more traction initially and got out of the gates a little bit faster.
That's Marcel Kurland, an associate professor at OHSU. He says the BA2 subvariant has been around since Omicron emerged. It just took some time for it to start spreading.
It is a bit different than BA1 in that it has, they're closely related, but BA2 has a number of mutations in it that BA1 doesn't have.
One of those mutations is that BA2 is more transmissible than the original Omicron strain. But overall, Kurland says the subvariant is similar to the original strain, as in it's a milder illness.
It's infecting people in large part in places where people have been vaccinated already, or they've had COVID before. And so they're not really, it's not a naive population without any herd immunity.
Kurland says we may see a rise in cases over the next few weeks, something Europe is currently seeing as the BA2 variant becomes the dominant variant. So the Pacific Northwest will likely, if not already, experience the subvariant. However, it will not be a surge that will bring back mandated restrictions.
COVID first emerged in 2019 and really hit the world stage in 2020, early 2020. No one had COVID before, so it was tearing through the population at great speed and causing a lot of havoc. 2 years on, many of us have been vaccinated. 3/4 of the United States has been vaccinated. A lot of people have had COVID on top of that, or only COVID, and so these variants are just slower to get off the mark.
Now, if you are concerned about getting sick, just continue to follow all the guidelines outlined by health officials over the last 2 years. Wear a mask, socially distance, avoid large crowds, get vaccinated, and wash your hands. Bonnie?
So, Connor, yes, thank you. Great information there. So there has been conversations by scientists about the endemic, as they call it, and what that would look like. So did Kurland say if this subvariant is an example of the endemic?
Well, Bonnie, Kurland says it is. It's still early on, but he does believe the subvariant is the transition into the endemic. He says the broader immunity of the population, whether it's being vaccinated or being infected with COVID or both, is making it harder for the virus to gain traction and infect people. He says COVID is still a very serious disease. And looking back on it, nearly 1 million Americans have lost their lives to COVID since 2020. But the way it's being attacked and prepared for is similar to how society approaches the seasonal flu. Bonnie?